And it's canceling COVID as always. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to speak with you and also to bring on my good friend who is out here working in the community, Dr. Tracia Davis Black. She's with Groundwater Solutions, that is, groundwater-solutions.org, 704 596 0505, a sponsor of the show and also helping us, always keeping us in tune and letting us know what's happening in the community. First of all, good morning and thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Good morning, Queen. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. I appreciate your energy, always positive vibes, and always here to help. So, thank you for hopping on. So, we're always trying to figure out, get a good read on where we are and what's happening in our community. Tell us kind of what are you seeing up until this point?
Well, I think as we said, the numbers are still growing. I think I saw a report that the numbers were up by 50% from last week. So let
Okay.
me say this: the numbers are still small. We are not seeing anything like the astronomical numbers that we saw at the heights of the pandemic. But what we are seeing, because we went through a period where there were really no positives, so we're seeing those numbers gradually increase. We've heard that there may be, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that there may be kind of mass spikes, but we have not yet seen that. So I'm not able to confirm that that's happening. What I can say is, I'm still encouraging everyone to take the proper safety measures because we don't want to spread. We don't want to be a part of the spread.
So I see Philadelphia, we kind of applauded them last week and they had
Yeah.
reinstated the indoor mask mandate. I know a lot of the businesses were pretty upset about that and threatened to sue. They rescinded that. It didn't take long at all. You think that they gave in to the pressure from the community?
I don't know what I would do if I were in the position there, if I was in a place of leadership, but I cannot imagine the pressure that they sustained, legal
Yeah.
pressure as well as public pressure. Um, I think it was a quick turnaround. I think they may have said, we're going to keep it in place for 30 days. I'm not sure, but I'm not there. I don't know all that they encountered, but I did anticipate that there was going to be tremendous backlash.
Yeah, and obviously so loud that they said, "Hey, look, we'll just back off for now." But I'd still applaud them. The
Hmm.
attempt was made, the effort obviously with good intentions, and people are
Absolutely.
saying they're just not having it. Now, we've got this spike going on, and you've recommended all along still take precautions. And I really like, again, using the hand sanitizer, making sure my hands are washed, and
Hmm.
keeping the distance. And the mask, it's not very comfortable at times, but I'll tell you, I took a trip and it was to Florida. And one of the things that really stood out, not just on the way down, but also on the way back, and I will say I did have my mask on in the airport because I'd seen reports of in the airport would be one of the places you should still be concerned. On the
Yeah.
airplane, supposedly not so much, but I still have some challenges with the air circulation on there as well because sometimes you can smell different things, which tells me that it's not always on point. And there's a reason a lot of times the flight attendants are still wearing their mask as well. Along those lines, here's something that really stood out. People that look like me were the only ones that had their mask on. And it was obvious.
Yes.
It was so obvious going and coming back in
Mhm.
the airport, on the airplane. Why do you think that is?
I think we were disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 in the
Okay.
pandemic. Each of us knows several people. Some people have lost count on their hands of the number
Yeah.
that of folks that they know that were personally impacted, that died, have debilitating illnesses now. I have a gentleman at work who he was in the hospital for a while, and his father, who's a senior, of course, was in the hospital for almost 6 months
Oh,
and now
no.
is walking around with oxygen. So we have seen the impact. We've seen the devastation of this disease, and not just on TV, not on news accounts. So we personally know. And the other thing is that I believe that we've been educated. I think organizations like Groundwater have been out there in the community, and we continue to be out there in the community. So I just like to kind of pat ourselves on the back and think that we've
Yeah,
made some
definitely.
kind of impact, that we know that until we're done, we're not done.
And along those lines, thank you. We appreciate the work that you continue to do to educate. And I didn't think about it like that, but you're absolutely right. Even if you go into Black churches, they are still, for the most part, requiring mask. It's
Mhm.
not mask off, not yet, and still
Not
taking
yet.
all the precautions. Yeah, and the service I was in on Sunday, not even a handshake. The pastor and I did a fist bump. It's like I'm not,
Mhm.
letting my guard down just
Mhm.
yet. But how
And we care,
impactful
Tanya, we care about our seniors. I think
that
I think the effort in our community is because we care about our grandmothers and grandfathers and know that if we get sick, what happens to them? What happens to our children? That, and so we're in an age group, and I see that same phenomenon that when I go places, I'm out in public, I'm in restaurants, I do see people who look like us who are still masking, who are still social distancing. So I'm just really proud of our community.
And I thought about that as well because when we were impacted and who are the essential workers and what are their living quarters like? And oftentimes there's more people in the homes and we can't
Mhm.
afford to miss work. All those things come into play. So it's great. And the education piece is really, really one of the things that I can say I appreciate as well.
I want to say one more thing. The other thing about masking, you all know that this is allergy season.
Right.
Pollen
Yeah.
is everywhere. And I find that with the mask, then I'm having less effects, less impact of the pollen. So there are kind of sub benefits to continuing the mask that I'm reaping.
Well, that's good to hear. I will say on the flight, the pilot makes it very clear that or the flight attendant, whichever one is making the announcement. I think on the that was the captain, and on the way
Mhm.
back, it was the flight attendant that announced, that the mandate is no longer in place.
Mhm.
However, be respectful of whatever decision a person makes. And I thought that was really key because
Mhm.
you're sitting there, and I've seen some things on social media where people have said, well, one in particular, a guy said that a captain walked up to him for an airline and said, the mask mandate is over, you can take it off. And the person said they were really taken aback. I'm not going to call which carrier
Mhm.
he worked for, but I just thought that was really bold. And so I think I
Mhm.
shared with you as I take my flight. I'm wondering if someone's going to take the time to say anything to me. But literally, there were four of us flying back out. One other person looked like me, and out of the group, she and I were the only two that had our mask on.
Mhm.
And so, kudos to us for at least recognizing that we still need to take cautions. Now, again, if I'm outside and around people that I'm comfortable with, I don't
Mhm.
wear my mask, but I just feel like being closed in those quarters is really necessary. So that's great, again, that we are doing something right.
Mhm.
And we don't often get those reports. So I think that's great and
Yes.
worth acknowledging. And to everyone, applause to you. And it's not to just say that our community is the only one still
Right.
masking up, and anyone feel free to hop on and share your thoughts on that or why you are still masking up or why you're not.
Or if they're noticing that as well, I'm interested
Yeah.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great to note though, like I said, this was very obvious. And you said you noticed the same. So let's get an update on where you are as far as opportunities, anything coming up on the horizon. I know you guys continue to build, and we talked about healthy opportunities.
Mhm.
We want to continue to discuss that as well. Just touch on that briefly and how people can still follow up.
So remember that we have been talking about the Healthy Opportunity Pilot Funds, the $661 million that was allotted to North Carolina to address housing, food and nutrition, transportation, and domestic violence prevention. The money has been sitting at the state level, and in 2021, it was finally distributed out to three organizations to be able to provide those resources to our community. As of yet, we are now in 2022, almost halfway through the year, and thus far, no services, no resources have been distributed to people out here who really need it. So we are asking that you really push at the state level. Contact your elected officials, contact Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Medicaid, contact your local officials and ask them where is the money and
Where's
how
the
do
money?
we get it pushing through so that people who desperately need it can begin to be served.
And
Our organization, such as Groundwater Solutions, we are out here on your behalf. You can contact us if you want to be part of some collective efforts. We haven't yet figured out how, as a group, we're going to respond to this because we talk all the time. We're constantly talking to folks at the state level. And so we need your voices to join ours.
And the number 704-596-0505, 704-596-0505, groundwater-solutions.org. Healthy opportunities. This is an ongoing conversation, folks. We're not going to stop talking about this, so that we are planting this seed and you're going to help it grow as we bring attention to this matter. So, Dr. Tracia Black, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and healthy opportunities, everyone. Still working at that. Before I let you go, anything else?
So I want to say a couple of things. We are launching, and we've done this in the before. We have small medical practice that we have launched. We are primarily behavioral health care, but we believe in whole person health. So we've practiced physical health care or medical care, as well as the behavioral health care. We are now expanding those efforts into a larger medical practice. So we're excited about that. If you are looking for a home for your own personal health care, for your behavioral health, your whole person health, we will be not just kind of your primary care or your urgent care needs, as well as your mental health and addictions, but we're launching full wellness services around nutrition and weight loss, IV hydration, hyperbaric, which is oxygen therapies, some of the natural things besides medication that we know really help us to achieve real health and wellness. So we're launching all of those things. So please reach out to us if you're looking for healthcare providers that you can trust. We are right here in your neighborhood.
Oh, thank you so much. And trust is so important. So congratulations to all that you're doing as you continue to grow. And again, thank you for all that you do for our community. Dr.
You as
Tracia
well.
Black, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day. And of course, be safe. And thanks for all that you do for everyone as you continue to serve. All right.
Thank
Enjoy the rest of your day.
you too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Groundwater Solutions, again, groundwater-solutions.org, 704-596-0505. Take care, Dr. Black.
Take care.
Now, let's talk about grief coaching, something we don't talk about enough. And Lord knows we've all had to grieve over something. And I'm not just talking about the loss of a family member. We're over 900,000 in this country right now of deaths contributed or attributed to COVID-19. Over 20,000 in North Carolina alone. But I've got someone that's joining me right now, and I really appreciate having them. I consider them friends. There are two of them, so they're going to try to lean in. There they go together. Please introduce yourselves as the owners of Abiding Grace LLC. Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Jones.
Good morning. I'm Willetta Jones, and this is my better half, Bill Jones, and we are the owners of Abiding Grace LLC.
Okay, so now just tell us, what is Abiding Grace LLC?
Okay, Abiding Grace is a nurturing company that helps individuals get through the grieving process. We don't diagnose, all right? We are a support system for people.
Okay. So let's talk about grief coaching, because in our community, as Dr. Black and I was talking about before, and she was saying there's so many people that are grieving, trying to even make the conversation about mental wellness and mental health, normalize it, and therapy and things along those lines. Kind of tell us what grief coaching involves. What does that mean?
Well, with grief coaching, it's a support system. When a person decides that they need to have some support or help, then we are the people to come to. All right. Like I said, we don't diagnose.
Okay.
So there's no diagnosis. We start where people are and help them move through the process, their grief journey.
So now, is this, when you say grief, people automatically think about the loss of a loved one? Is that what you deal with?
That is one of the phases that we deal with. Because grief comes in so many different forms. You can have grief from a loss of a job, from a loss of a pet, from a loss of a relationship. There are so many different kinds of grief. And you can have cumulative grief, where you have several things happening at the same time, where you don't get over one loss before you have another loss. Okay. And there's anticipatory grief, where you may be taking care of someone who's ill.
Mm-hmm.
And the loss comes in the fact that the person is not the person who you've known before. Let's say if it were Alzheimer's, and a person has a condition that keeps them from being or functioning the way they usually are functioning, and so there you anticipate, even sometimes unconsciously, what is going to happen to my loved one, and if that person is in care, being cared for, and is in the process of dying, then you are in an anticipatory state. Okay,
So look, go ahead. I just wanted to ask, so why do you suggest, or why, when people say, well, what do I need grief coaching for? Why is that service needed? You mentioned that cumulative grief and things that are going on. How do you tell people, you need grief coaching? Because they're going to say, why?
A person has to want to have the support. It's
Okay.
not like if a person is going to a counselor or going to a medical physician or going to court and the judge says you need to go to counseling, okay, and mandates that. This is something that someone wants to do voluntarily. And that's the only way that the process will work, is because a person wants to have some help.
So anyone just hopping on, Abiding Grace, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I've known them for quite some time. A former coworker of mine, Mr. Jones. Hey, Bill, I appreciate you all so much. When people come on or sign up and say, hey, I need this coaching, what type of steps are taken? I mean, just tell me, is it just a conversation, or tell me how this all works?
Well, the first thing we do is we have what's called a discovery call. It's a free call where I ask questions to determine whether or not we're going to be a good fit. It's like a glove on your hand, because we're working together and we have to decide if this is going to work, because it's a partnership. Okay. So that's the first step, the discovery call. And then with the discovery call, I ask questions, and then the potential client can ask questions, and we decide how we go in the future.
That might have been my light throwing you off. Sometimes it goes off and on, and I had to put it back on. I don't know if that's what it was. I'm doing everything here, doing the show, producing, and doing the technical side. So I don't know why it's popping off, and my husband's upstairs. So is this something that's covered by insurance?
At the present time, no, it's not. But we're working toward getting it covered.
Is this something that is growing in our country?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is a segment of life coaching. Life coaching started in the 1980s, and it has truly grown. And grief coaching has come out of the life coaching process.
So what type of training or what is it required for you to be able to start this type of practice?
Well, the training that we did was out of the Grief to Gratitude program out of Washington, D.C. And you don't have to have a degree to be a grief coach, but we both are, have our degrees. I have a master's from Purdue in special education, and that has also helped me with working with people who have needs, and we both have our
certification that we get from the grief program, grief coaching program.
Well, I've seen you actually featured as far as your qualifications and the professionalism that you've been able to provide. I've seen you featured in some of the I guess the circulars or the publications around the area. So it looks like you're starting to make an imprint as far as this whole professional field of working with people. And again, I see all this also tying in with mental health. Can you kind of give examples of some, without giving away too much privilege information, if it's confidential, of, typically those that you're working with and how you all have reached a resolution?
Well, I ask the clients if it's okay to use their situations without using their names.
Okay.
And most of them have said yes. And currently I'm working with a woman who lost her father, her husband, and her father-in-law in less than 6 months' time.
Oh my goodness.
And so, just dealing with just grief in general and dealing with the secondary causes of grief. For instance, like after losing your husband, then you lose a secondary issue would be losing monies from his salary and being able to restructure your own life. It's not just, it's the grieving and this restructuring of everything in your life, so that is one of the people I've worked with. And
well, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Trying to get my light back where it's supposed to be, so I apologize.
That's okay. And this is ongoing. We decide after we decide which how many sessions or packages or whatever a person is going to start with. As we get closer to the end, then a person can re-up and start the sessions. It's not that you stop at a particular time. It depends upon a person's needs and growth. When they get to the point where they can be more independent and feel better about the whole process.
So has it been what you all expected as far as this whole endeavor taken off, or has it been slow? Or tell me how long have you been doing this Abiding Grace?
Well, Abiding Grace was established in July 2019, but we've been helping people, taking care of people all our lives. So it was through that. Both Bill and I are a mother's only children. So we took care of my mom. We were responsible for my mom for 31 years, and we were responsible for his mom for 12 years. So we have a little bit of experience about.
And thank you again to abidinggracellc.com is how you can find out information about grief coaching. Great information that I'm sure you can share and pass along to others. If you know someone dealing with grief for whatever reason they're grieving, now is a good time to refer them. It's time for me to move out of the way, my friends. As always, life's challenges make you better, not bitter. I'll see you on Saturday on Praise 100.9 FM, kicking off at 10 a.m. Please tune in. If you have any suggestions or you want to reach out to me about comments for the show, Tanya Rivens at AOL.com. Again, that's Tanya Rivens at AOL.com. Or you can use this email here. Look at me, RivensTanya@gmail. Too many emails. RivensTanya@gmail.com, because I love to have you on as we continue to talk about ways that we have to deal with COVID. It's not gone, folks, and there's so much that we have to deal with. So we're going to keep having these conversations. Do know that we'll continue to work together, because together we certainly can cancel COVID. So have a great day, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in.